be screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 6th part of What If Ichigo Joins Pokemon? Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of Strange and Kind 634 of them on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Pallet Town. While they ride along the path to Pallet Town, Daisy asks the three what they had experienced on their trip, with the professor saying many things and Ichigo adding some flair to them. Charmeleon just look around the town, missing the place. A few Pidgey flew besides them, and the professor look at them. It's nice to see the native Pokemon here in Kanto, Charmeleon shouts, agreeing chair. And after a few more seconds, the four finally reach the gate to Professor Oak's lab. Charmeleon said something to Ichigo before he runs off with his red scarf on his claws after he pull it out from his neck. Daisy looks at the black lizard running off. Ichigo, where is he going? Ichigo, who is putting down the professor's luggage from the jeep, says he said he had something to do. Oh, aren't you curious? She asks with the professor, who already gone up to the steps towards his lab. A little, but it's his business, so I don't want to invade his privacy. Ichigo then finally finish putting the bags down. Daisy just giggles. Ha ha ha. Ichigo turns to her, raising a brow. What's so funny? Yeah, it's just that Mrs. Delia was right. You really do act more like an adult than a kid your age, Daisy says to him, which Ichigo's scowl somehow deepen. Whatever, let's just go, he say while going up to the lab. Daisy, while giggling, follows him to the steps. Darkrai too from the shadow follows him. While the two are walking towards the lab, some weird-looking bushes were following him and shaking quite suspiciously. Shush! We have to be quiet, Bush 1 says to the other two bushes. Stop moving so much, okay, Bush 2 whines. How did I get into this? They kept whispering while moving closer towards Ichigo. Stop complaining, aren't you a guy? One of the bushes says to the other. Ichigo turns to see 3 small bushes behind him before he turns back and keep walking. One of the bush breathes out relief. Phew, he didn't notice us. They keep following him, and one more time Ichigo turns and stare at them with a twitch on his eyes. Did they really think they can fool me? Ahaha, this kids are a riot, ahaha. Ichigo turns back again and try to grab on the doorknob with Daisy besides him, oblivious to the 3 bushes, before the two could enter inside. Now, one of the bushes says. Okay. Why am I even doing this? Then 3 figure jumps from the bushes and jumps at Ichigo, who already knew what has happened and tried to grab the 3. But with him carrying so much things he couldn't catch them, and Daisy just puts her hands on her mouth, surprised by the 3 occurrence before. Crash. And all the stuff Ichigo was carrying fall and hits his head one by one. Oh. Ichigo then turns his head up to the 3 assailant, you 3. But before he could say more, the 3 kids comprising of Ash, Gary and Leaf shouts to him all together. Welcome back, with Ash and Leaf grinning and Gary feeling embarrassed for what is happening. Ichigo sigh and look up at the 3 who were sitting on his chest on the ground before he just smiles at them, I'm back, which somehow got the 3 more excited. Daisy look at the 4 who are now saying things to each other with happy smiles. And the door came open with Delia Ketchum looking at the disaster of Ichigo on the ground with the 3 kids sitting on his chest and Daisy laughing on the side and many things lying on the ground around them. Delia sweat drop. Ichigo then sees her and Delia says to him with a motherly smile, Oh Ichigo, welcome home. Ichigo, now really happy after seeing all of them, gets up with the kids now on the ground and off him. Yeah, it's great to see all of you again, Ichigo say, while rubbing Ash's head, who grins at him. Then come inside all of you, or you won't have the snacks that I prepare. After she said that, Ash already ran inside quickly. Yes. The others just laugh at Ash. He hasn't changed much, hasn't he? Ichigo chuckle. Not he hasn't. He's still the Ashy boy we all know, Gary say while he shook his head. And I hope he stays that way, Ichigo say, and this time rubbing Gary his head. Gary, who is flustered from getting his head rubbed by someone he really admires. Then they walk into the lab and Leaf moves close to Ichigo and suddenly stops. Ichigo turns to her, "Leaf, you coming?" Then Leaf sniffs Ichigo from the side. The others look at her confused by her act, and Ichigo got ticked off by her action and he bonks her head. "Oh, why did you do that?" Ichigo then turns to her, "You were sniffing me." "That's because I smell a woman's perfume on you." She points her finger at him, which Ichigo looked confused at her perfume. He then smells himself before he remembers the fragrance from and thinks back to Cynthia hugging him and the girl he met who touched his hair and hand. Must have been from them, Ichigo thought, and Leaf suddenly says, "Ichigo, someone has already marked you." Ichigo just sweat drop at her nonsense. "Leaf, what are you talking about?" "Huh, I'm too tired to even listen anymore," he say, and just walk to the kitchen in the lab. Leaf then quickly followed him and began to tell him how she had taught him so much, yet he is still dense as an onyx. Inside the kitchen, Ichigo and Leaf walk into the kitchen before they too eating some snack Delia prepare for them. Ash then asks Ichigo, "Brother, where is Charmander?" Ichigo then says to him, "He's somewhere doing his business. Don't worry, he'll be back soon." Ash slumps on the kitchen table, "But I want to see him now." Gary and Leaf sigh at their friend antic. "Now Ash, just be patient, the two just arrived back so they have things to do, okay?" Delia tells her son, which Ash just accepted. Ichigo seeing Ash down look he sigh, "Well, if you want I have another friend in my team," that seemed to perk up all of their ears. Really, Ash stands in front of him with starts in his eyes. Professor Oak asks, "When did you catch a Pokemon?" Ichigo, who is confused since he was with the orange head on their trip. Delia and Daisy just seem interested. "Well, come on, pull it out already," Leaf chided him, and Gary too seemed to be excited to meet a Sinnoh native Pokemon. "I don't need to pull him out cause he's already inside the room." They all look around to find the Pokemon but couldn't find it. "Brother, we can't find him." Ichigo then says, "Come on out. You don't have to hide there, my family." Then after a few seconds Ichigo's shadow extends and a figure form. Ash saw it and points at it. "It's here," excitedly. The others look curiously as it slowly comes out of Ichigo's shadow. After Darkrai comes out, Ichigo introduces him. "This is my new friend." He waved his hand to the dark Pokemon, and suddenly the three kids and surprisingly Professor Oak runs to Darkrai and starts asking him with the professor examining him. Darkrai hesitates a bit by backing from the three kids and adult. Darkrai turns to Ichigo. "Don't worry, they're really nice," Ichigo says to him. Then Darkrai then slowly bow his upper body to them. "It is nice to meet you," in his usual gruff voice. The four and Delia with Daisy eyes widen. "It can talk," they all shouted bewildered at Ichigo, who put his finger in both his ears. On a secluded area of the Professor Ranch, Charmeleon had reached his mother's grave again, and he is now sitting beside her grave telling her all his adventure through Sinnoh. Charmeleon, and seeing the two hug I felt something, and not before long I evolved and got stronger, Charmeleon say while pumping his claws into the air. He then continue on and on about how he had seasickness, scratching his head laughing nervously. And from above a large draconic, bipedal Pokemon looks down at Charmeleon talking to his mother grave before it descent to the ground beside the black lizard who got surprised by its presence. Charmeleon looked at the large Pokemon, but before he could say anything the large Pokemon looked down at him. "Grrrr. I see that you have returned, and you seem to also have gotten stronger." Charmeleon didn't know what to say, so he stayed quiet. "Grrrr, your mother would be proud of you," the larger Pokemon say, and put down a red flower on the grave. "Grrrr, so what kind of person is your trainer?" Charmeleon began to tell him excitedly. "Grrrr, it seems you two are quite similar. Ahaha." The larger Pokemon laughs with Charmeleon scratching his head at the truth. The two stay there for a while until the sun slowly vanished from the horizon. Then the larger Pokemon flew high again and say, "Grrrr, now it's time to get back, little black." Charmeleon nods, but before he got back to Pallet Town, he then puts his mother red scarf back on the gravestone, and then he went to the Ketchum house. I'm back." He finally felt home and breathes the air around. On entering the house, he was welcomed to the sight of everyone including the Oak family, and Leaf inside having dinner with Darkrai holding Teddiursa, and Ichigo saw him standing by the door. "Come on, you must be hungry," and Charmeleon ran inside with the others again surprised by his evolution, and Ash yells, "Cool." and a typical night is spent by them inside the Ketchum house. Professor Oak now is standing outside feeling the cool breeze of the night. Then suddenly the same Pokemon that had been spending time with Charmeleon flew down beside him. Giara. Professor chuckle. How did it go, old friend? The Pokemon is now identified to be a Charizard, and it growl. Giara. Professor nods his head, somehow understanding the Pokemon from his years of experiences with Pokemon. I see your nephew is getting stronger, but you're still worried he won't be able to control his flames. The Pokemon nodded. Do not worry, old friend. With his trainer Ichigo, who is also a very special boy, will help him, and they will stronger together, he says to him, and the two just look up at the moon. And someone else is looking up at the same moon from his room. It's really good to be back home, Ichigo thought while lying on his back and with Charmeleon already on the side of the bed. Looking on his side, Ichigo finds Darkrai resting on the side of the bed, and Ichigo look at his Pokedex. Never knew how useful this thing is. 'Cause you're an idiot. Idiot, Ichigo, just ignore him and remember back the excruciating moment with him showing Darkrai to them. A few hours ago. It can talk. Ichigo then pull out his finger from his ears. Yeah, surprised me too the first time I met him, he tells them. Ash got more excited and with Leaf began to say and ask many questions at the Pokemon who is backing from the two energetic kids. Professor Oak turns to Ichigo. Ichigo, when did you catch him? And why didn't you tell me while we were in Sinnoh? Ichigo, while eating a cookie, answer. He doesn't really like others' company that much, and I didn't catch him. He decided to follow me while Cynthia and I went to Alamos Town. Professor Oak nods his head and begin to look at Darkrai with curiosity, with Daisy doing the same. Brother, what's his name? Ash asked Ichigo. The two other kids too were getting excited to know too. Ichigo then thinks before he answers them. I forgot. They all fall down on the ground anime style with Darkrai's sweat drop at his friend. Ash got up and yells, how can you not know his name when you caught him? Ichigo just scratches his cheeks. I wasn't really thinking back then, they sigh at his answer. He sometimes do act like Ash. Delia chuckle at the two boys' similar antics. Ichigo, didn't you use the Pokedex I gave you? Professor Oak says to him, which Ichigo eyes widen and quickly dig something from his bag and pull out a dust-cover Pokedex, which the others didn't want to ask anymore. Ichigo then cleans the dust-cover dex. Holding it in front of Darkrai, the Pokedex scan and says, Darkrai, the nightmare Pokemon. To protect itself, it affects those around it with nightmares. However, it means no harm. Nightmares, they all say. Darkrai now looked down feeling that they would avoid him, but wow, that's really amazing, Ash says to him with excitement in his eyes, and he felt his hand being grabbed and looked down to see Leaf is holding them. It's really nice to meet you, Darkrai, she says to him with a smile. She then pulled out Teddiursa and held up to him. Here, meet Ted. Teddiursa just look at him with a curious look as this the first time she meets a Pokemon like him. Teddy? Darkrai then carefully holds the Pokemon and Teddiursa, then happily cries at him, Teddy. Leaf smiles and Gary came into, and to get a closer look at the very rare Pokemon, and Ash is hanging on its shoulder. Ichigo watch the kids interact with the kids and say to the dark Pokemon, this is my family, Darkrai. Darkrai turns to him and nods, and Ichigo continue, and now it's your family too. Darkrai blinks and turns to them. Yeah, if my brother says so, then welcome to the family. Gary and Leaf agrees with a nods. Delia touches his shoulder and Darkrai turns to her. From now on this is your home too. Darkrai could say anything, and just look at the people who accept him with no hesitation. Daisy then asks, what about the nightmares? Ichigo turns to her and say, it's alright. As long as he's with me, no one seems to get any nightmares. Don't know why, but it just happened. Then Professor Oak and Daisy grabs him and starts asking him questions. And by the end of the day, all of them went to the Ketchum's house to have a big family dinner. Present time. Now Ichigo slowly closed his eyes and finally fell asleep. On the side of his bed, Darkrai opens his eyes and floats towards the window looking up to the moon and turns to Ichigo and Charmeleon family. He says before slowly laying back down on the side of the bed, getting embraced by the warm aura of Ichigo's. Morning came with the sun rising and the sunlight hitting the face of our orange-hair hero who isn't too keen in getting up yet. After a few minutes, Ichigo is still sleeping until someone jumping and kick Ichigo on his stomach. Ichigo. Ulf! Ichigo caught at being kicked on the stomach by none other than his little brother Ash, who just grins at him. Charmeleon too woke up from the ruckus. Ichigo felt a familiar feeling when Ash came to wake him up. but he just shook his head dismissing it. He turns to Ash. Ash, why did you do that? Ichigo asks him while coughing. Ash then says, it's already 9 am okay and mom asked me to wake you up. Ichigo then calmed down his throat. Okay, but please be more gentle next time, okay? Ash nods and gets off the bed. Charmeleon already walking down the stairs to get breakfast. Ichigo look around and couldn't find someone. Where's Darkrai? Ash then quickly reply, he's downstairs helping mom. Ash then walks out with Ichigo following, who then went to the bathroom to do his things like brushing his teeth, but Ash turns to him, brother, where are you going? I'm going to brush my teeth. Why? Ichigo asked, which Ash froze a bit. Ichigo saw it and folded his arms. You didn't brush your teeth, haven't you? Ash nervously laughs, ahaha, and turns to go downstairs, but Ichigo grabs he before he could and drag him towards the bathroom. Nuo, I don't wanna. Ash struggle as a normal kid his age would do. Ichigo just ignores his cries and keep on dragging him. Ichigo then puts him on the stool in front of the bathroom mirror. Now let's get this over with, Ichigo say. Inside the kitchen of the Ketchum house, we find Delia humming a tone while cleaning the insides with Darkrai's and Mr. Mime's help, who has already befriended the nightmare Pokemon. And Charmeleon, who is standing on the side holding a plate of pancakes on one hand and while using his other claw to eat it. Ichigo and Ash enters the room with Ichigo yawning and Ash grumble something about what had happened earlier. Good morning, Ichigo. Delia turns and greet him while scrubbing the sink. Ichigo sits down on one of the kitchen chairs with Ash doing the same. Good morning, Mrs. Delia. He greets her in return before he quickly eat his breakfast that Mr. Mime prepare for him. Seeing that his brother is finishing, he quickly took his chance. Brother, let's go play. Ash hopefully looks at him as it has been too long since they hung out together. Ichigo clean his face and turns to him. Why not? It has been long since we hang out, hasn't it? Ash sprout a big grin and pulls Charmeleon, who is still eating a piece of pancake, from his pals and ran out the door. Delia saw how excited her son is and chuckles with Mr. Mime cleaning the fallen pancakes which Charmeleon had dropped when he got pulled out. Mime tilde happily cleaning it with a broom. He hasn't been this excited since you first came here, haha. Delia giggles. Ichigo just look at the way he went and stands up before go outside. Well, I can't make him wait long, so I'm going. Delia nodded and turns back to her daily duties with her Pokemon and Darkrai, who decide to stay and help out. After going outside, come on, you slow bro, Ash yells from a distance with Gary, Leaf and Charmeleon besides him. They too were excited to spend time with him. Ichigo then runs to them. Later, Ichigo now stood with Charmeleon and look at the kids who are buzzing around a nearby tree which seems to be covered with some leaves and others things. What are you three doing? He asked them. Ash then finally came up to him. We're gonna show you something really great. Leaf continue. Since you have been gone for like a month, we got really bored and did something really amazing. And Gary finish it. Basically, we built a secret hideout. He say, not really excited, trying to be cool as always, but got hit on the head. Oh, Leaf, why did you do that for? He turns to her. It was supposed to be a surprise and you ruined it, Leaf says. You idiot, Leaf and Ash yells at him. Gary just give them a whatever look which ticked the two off before they jump on him and starts pulling his hair, cheeks and mouth. Ichigo's sweat drops. Okay, you three stop it and let's just see it, okay? Ichigo pulls them apart from each other and the kids understood and ran towards a tree, and Ichigo with Charmander follow them. Ash opens a hatch or a small door from the lower part of a tree. They went inside and Ichigo looked surprised by how they could had built it and amazed at the place inside the tree, which is huge. Come on, let's go up. Ash then quickly climbs up to a ladder like a monkey which is in bed on the side of the place, with the others quickly follow him. Charmeleon too move around the place excitedly like a child who just got a new toy. Ichigo look around the upper place of their secret hideout and he could see the whole outside of the place surrounding the hideout. Ash, did you three really build this place? The three kids turns to him and answers him respectively. You bet. All on our own. Well, the Pokemon helped too. Ash and Leaf forgot about the part where the Pokemons help them act. The two choke on their words. Gary then explained that they couldn't never do it alone and had Ash ask for their help. Ichigo smiles at them. You three did a really great job building this place. The three stop their conversation and turns to him before getting bashfully from his compliment. The three then felt something on their backs. Charmeleon had jumped on the three and they fell down on the ground laughing. Ichigo just look at them happy. The day progressed with them doing what they do best, having a heck of a fun with the Pokemons around the place with Charmeleon gone again before he rejoins them later when they finish. Brother, why didn't Charmeleon play with us today and those other times whenever we come here on Professor Oak's ranch? Leaf too is also having the same thought, but Gary knew the reason. Ichigo then turns to Ash and look back at Charmeleon who is in front of them. Well, the Pokemon here don't seem to like Charmeleon much. But why? Ash asks again. I don't know, maybe because of his different color or maybe not. But I do know that there is a reason, so it's best not to intrude in his business, Ichigo say to him while looking at the happy black fire Pokemon who is walking happily in front of them. Oh, Ash say looking down. He then felt a claw on his shoulder and raising his head, Charmeleon now stand in front of him with a flaming grin. Ash, you have to know that Charmeleon doesn't care that they don't like him, but as long as he friends like you, he's happy. So don't worry about him, Ichigo say to him while rubbing his hair. Ash then smile before he runs to his house with Charmeleon following and Leaf and Gary not far behind. Ichigo just look at them and walk slowly with a smile on his face while closing his eyes. And the day ended with the slowly disappearing sun set on the horizon. A few days later, we find Ichigo looking around the books inside the library of Professor Oak. Philosophy on Pokemon No, Guide to the Ways of Life No, Understanding of Aura. Yes, this is it. Before Ichigo could grab onto the book, a hand quickly grabbed the book from him. Huh? Professor, why did you do that? Ichigo turns to see the professor holding the book on his hand and turns to the orange-haired boy. I'm sorry, Ichigo, but the content inside this book is something I can't easily hand it to anyone. I had put this inside the old storage room, but Daisy must have somehow pulled it out. But Professor, I need the book to help me understand my own aura. You know that, don't you? Ichigo try to persuade him, which the professor turns to him and sigh, Ichigo. Aura is a very dangerous ability, it could even hurt its own user. Ichigo didn't back down. I don't care, I need to get stronger and learn to control it, Ichigo says to him with a strong resolve, which the professor thought and have an idea. I guess I can't really stop you, Ichigo got happy with his answers. But Ichigo slumps down at that. There is always a catch, isn't there? He thought. Now what? Ichigo asks. You'll have to pick up some things for me in Pewter City, and I'll allow you to use this book. The professor raised the book with his hand. Fine, Ichigo answer him, and the professor explains to him how to get to Pewter City. Ichigo then walks outside of the lab with Charmeleon and Darkrai following him. I guess I have to be his deliver boy again. Charmeleon then points his claws at his side. Ichigo then turns where Charmeleon is pointing and see Ash, Leaf and Gary walking towards him while carrying small bags, and they seem to be ready for something. What are you three doing? Going for a hike? Ichigo asked the three with a raised brow. Ash then quickly declare, we're coming with you. Leaf nodded and Gary just say, they drag me into this again. Ichigo scratched his head with Charmeleon getting patted by Leaf. Ash, did you tell your mom? He asks the dark-haired boy, who gives him a thumbs up, and turning to the other two, how about you two? My dad say it's okay, Leaf answers him, and besides I can help you get a girlfriend. She grins at him, which Ichigo got annoyed by her intention. Sis say it would be a good experience for me, Gary say, while putting his hands on his pockets. Ichigo didn't want to say anything more, so he turns back to the path, then let's go, signaling them to come. Charmeleon walks beside him and Darkrai sinking back to his shadow. Ash and the other two were behind having a conversation on their own. Tilda Q music Cody Simsamla Dadi. I hope we get to see lots of Pokemon, Ash excitedly say while jumping a bit. Leaf just pull out Teddiursa from her Pokeball and hugs the Pokemon. Me too, but I want to see the other trainers battle. Gary put his hands on his head and not really caring about what will happen when they arrive. For me, I want to see something really interesting and not boring, they continue. Later, they finally made it to the outer part of the Viridian Forest. The day is still shining bright and we find the three making their way inside the forest and on the path to Viridian City, which will take them to Pewter City. Look, Butterfrees. Ash pointed and the others turns to see a whole bunch of them flying around near a lake inside the forest. Wow. Leaf and Gary says as they have never seen this much kind of Pokemon, and Ash quickly runs towards the lake. Leaf and Charmeleon quickly follows and left Ichigo and Gary, who stood and watched them. How immature can those two be? Gary say but secretly he too wants to run there too, but wants to act cool in front of Ichigo. Ichigo then put his hand on Gary's shoulder. Come on, let's go too. It'll be fun. Gary looks at him before he too walks there with Ichigo. Leaf is putting her legs on the water with Ichigo doing the same, and a Butterfree sitting on his head, which he didn't mind, and Ash from the shallow part of the lake done the inevitable splash. Leaf blinks at being drenched with Teddiursa beside her. Ash, catch him, she shouted, and quickly splashing him back. Ha ha ha, you'll have to do better than that. She had enough. Teddiursa use pound on the water. A large wave of water hits Ash and make him fall down. Leaf then high-fives her Pokemon. Yay, Teddy. The two laughs at Ash. Hey, no fair, I don't even have a Pokemon. And they keep going on. Charmeleon is now talking to a Butterfree who is sitting on Ichigo's head. Those two. Gary look at them while holding on his bag sitting on the ground. Then before he too got hit with the lake's water. Ha 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 ha. Ash laughs and Gary starts to twitch before he too jumps into the water, splashing them too when he fall, and now playing with them like a normal kid's should do. Ichigo just chuckles at the three while giving some Pokemon food to the Butterfree on his head. King, I'm nominating you for Brother of the Year. Hollow say while cracking a smirk. Ha ha, very funny. Anyway, did you get the book? Not yet. I have to do something for the professor before I can even look at it. Ichigo say, relaxing and just looking at the three kids. The old fart is really sneaky, isn't he? The two continue until Ichigo, Leaf shouted on his right ear, making Ichigo covering it and the Butterfree flying off his head. Leaf, why did you do that? Ichigo says while rubbing his ear. Leaf just put her hands on her hips and poofs her cheeks. You were spacing off. That's why. Ichigo just sigh. Anyway, we're hungry, so do you have anything to eat? Leaf asked him while holding on Teddiursa's hand. Grggg. The two turned to see Ash's stomach growling and the boy scratching his head. Hee, guess I'm hungry too. Gary too agree. Ichigo then pull out some things from his bag. And after a few minutes, Ichigo now making stew on the ground with a pot which he somehow pull out from somewhere while adding some ingredients from the herbs and berries he found around the place with Darkrai's help. The aroma of it came into Ash's nostril and he starts to drool. Are you done yet? Ash whines. Ichigo took a few sip and turns to him. Almost. So stop whining. Ash, Leaf and Gary drying themselves from their water fun. And finally the three kids sat around with their Pokemon joining them. This is... Ash looked down after tasting a spoonful of it. So good. With sparkles in his eyes. Gary and Leaf too begins to eat. Wow, you're right. Leaf then quickly starts eating and Gary too silently taking it in his mouth. Ichigo smiles happy that they were eating his cooking. Ichigo, where did you learn who cooked this good? Leaf asks him. Ichigo then gives Ash a second helping. Well, Mrs. Delia taught it to me. It was really hard at first, but I got the hang of it after a while. Ash, you remember, right? Ash stop his eating and look at his brother. What? Mom taught you? He say, making the three of sweat drop. Charmeleon didn't listen as he's too busy chowing down with Darkrai and Teddiursa besides him looking at his eating habit with sweat drops of their own. Ichigo then remembered back how it happened. Well, it all started. Tilda music stops. Tilda. Flashback a year ago. Ichigo is looking at Delia cooking from his seat on the table, which is also kind of funny that his foot hasn't reached the floor yet with his small body of a kid. Ichigo, do you want something? Turns to him. Ichigo then say, Mrs. Delia, Professor Oak say that I should learn how to cook cause he say that it'll be very important during one's life, or I guess he was trying to say on one's journey, so, could you? Delia understands what he wants to say. Of course, I would be happy to teach you. She smiles, then waving her hands at him to come closer. She then starts teaching the various things from fast cooking which he could make of various things or slow cooking which takes time but the results is very satisfying. Ash had joined the two with Charmander looking at them, but after a few too many mistakes Ash gives up for now which he say before he ran outside. Ichigo and Delia chuckling at his willingness. Now, Ichigo, do you know what is the most important while preparing food? She asked him. Ichigo starts thinking. Isn't it the tools you use? Delia shooks her head. In a sense it is true, but the most important thing is to think about the people you are going to serve it to and put your all into the food you're making, okay? She winks at him. Ichigo sweat drop at her statement, but nonetheless understands what she is trying to say. And she then directs him. Ichigo then carefully listens her advices and tips, and in the end he finally made something but still wasn't good. Ichigo, the secret is to never give up. Ichigo nodded and starts from scratch again. Flashback ends. Ichigo finish explaining to them. And that's how I learn. Ash the put a fist on his palm. Oh, now I remember Gary just say Ashy boy. Before he and Ash start their normal routine of arguments, Ichigo look at the two rival and friends started arguing again with a smile. Poke tilde feeling something on his cheeks. Ichigo turns to see Leaf grinding at him. Ichigo, you're smiling again. Guess my words really came through to you. Then Ichigo normal scowl came back, which Leaf slaps his shoulder. Hey, you did that on purpose, she says to him, which Ichigo starts chuckle and Leaf too giggles with him. Ash and Gary too join. The three Pokemon just watch their trainer with a confused look and sun starts to set. We'll have to camp here. You three brought you sleeping bags? He asks them. Yeah, Ash answers and pulls out his with Leaf and Gary doing the same. Ichigo, didn't you bring yours? Gary asks him. Ichigo turns to them. Before you three came I wasn't planning on sleeping outside. Must have forgotten it. The three now feels guilty. It's okay you three, I can sleep besides Charmeleon, he say, and Charmeleon responds to Char. The night quickly came and the three kids all now sleeping and Ichigo sleeping besides a tree with Charmeleon, but even with the fire type besides him he still feels cold. I should have always bring it even on a small trip like this, Ichigo thought. Then feeling something moving besides him and Charmeleon, Ichigo opens his eyes to find the three kids looking at him with a grin and surrounding his with them inside their sleeping bags and then slowly sleeps besides giving each other warmth. Ichigo smiles at the three and he then look up. Come down Darkrai, join this warm mess too. Darkrai, who is looking down, slowly descends towards them and make itself comfortable besides Charmeleon. The moonlight shines bright and a cold breeze blew in the forest, making it cold for the living beings inside the forest, but not for our heroes who are snoring lightly besides each other. Ash and Gary sleeping on Ichigo's sides and Leaf sleeping on his chest with Teddiursa. Charmeleon and Darkrai too sleeping besides them as the night drifts. The next day. Kaya. A loud scream can be heard as a few Pidgeys flies out surprised by the noise, and it quickly woke up the three boys and Pokemons from their slumber. Ugh, what kind of alarm is that? Ash woke up rubbing his eyes. What was that? Gary too woke up but still half asleep. My head. Ichigo rubs his head. Charmander and Darkrai too woke up. The three boys then turned to the noise that had woke them up and see Leaf paralyzes with fear on her eyes. Leaf! The three boys shouted and quickly moved to her and sweat drop at what they saw. This was what she was screaming about, Ash say with a dull look with Gary. Leaf is on the ground with a whole bunch of Caterpie around her. Okay, that is kind of creepy, Ichigo thought before he pulls up the paralyzed girl from the Pokemons. Okay, you two get yourselves ready. I'll try to wake her up and we'll continue towards Viridian City, Ichigo says to the two, and after a while they continue their way to Viridian City with Leaf already woke up. Viridian City. Later, they finally reach the city and Ash got excited and quickly say, let's go to the Pokemon gym here. Ichigo then turns to him, no Ash, first we have to go to the convenience store first for some supplies. What? He whines. Yeah Ash, I need to get some Pokemon food for Teddiursa too, Leaf says while pulling the cub Pokemon towards the store with Gary follow the two. Well, come on you idiot, Gary calls him, which Ash just dejectedly follows them with Charmeleon by his side. They then went inside the large Pokemon Center to relax, located on the center of the city after they finish what they were going. Now can we see the Viridian Gym, Ash says to the three of them, which they all ignore him and doing their own business. Ash then starts to throw a tantrum and after a few seconds Ichigo then agree to him, okay, we'll go. Ichigo then stands up, which Leaf and Gary sigh at Ash behavior and Charmeleon carry on Ichigo's bag. When they finally reach the gym, Ash quickly jumps in front of the entrance but stop with his face having a horrified look. New, he shouts to the sky. The others just look at him before they turn to see a notice in front of the entrance of the gym. We are sorry to notify that the gym leader is taking a vacation now and won't be back for a while. Bye. A sit. Gym leader. Guess that's that, Gary says while turning around with Leaf doing the same. Ichigo then drags a deflated and soulless Ash with Charmeleon having to carry the two brothers' bags. Char. He sigh. The four, after taking a quick rest, then heads to the Viridian bus station leading to Pewter City. Inside the bus, Ash, now finally back to his old self, start playing a card game for kids which he and Gary are competing each other. Leaf is now brushing Teddiursa's fur, cleaning the bear cub Pokemon. Char. Charmeleon grabs onto Ichigo. Ichigo looked down at his Pokemon. What is it, Charmeleon? His Pokemon just take something out from his pocket and look at it. Ichigo see that Charmander is looking at the photo of them with all his family and friends. Ah, you always carry that? Leaf saw the photo and asked him. Of course, it's really precious to me. Ichigo say and continue, cause this where I started a new chapter in my life. Leaf nods and smile at him, and Charmeleon too cried happily. Chr. Pewter City. An hour later, Ichigo and the three kids with their Pokemon reach Pewter City. They saw that Pewter City is a quiet city nestled between rugged mountains and rocks. Okay, you three, let's go and get the package Professor Oak wants us to get, Ichigo says to the three, who nods. Where exactly are we supposed to get it? Gary asks. Ichigo then says, the professor said that a man named Flint will be holding the package. They first gone to the Pokemoncenter to call their families. Inside the Pokemoncenter, we find the four using the video phones. Professor, we finally reach Pewter City, but we can't find the guy who is holding the package. So could you tell us where he is? Ichigo asked him with Gary besides him. Ash was on the other video phone booth with Leaf talking to their families. The man tends to move around the city due to some unknown reason. Professor closed his eyes trying to think for a solution. After a few minutes, it was taking too long, so. Gramps, Gary shouts, and the professor falls down. Huh? Gary, what is it? Professor Oak turns to his grandson, who just give him an annoyed look. Oh yes, about that. Ichigo sweat drops at the two. Flint is the gym leader of the city, so it would be a good idea to check the gym. Thanks, Professor, Ichigo says to him, and Daisy butts in the video frame and tells Gary things like a worry sister would do. Now, Gary, you didn't get hurt on the way, did you? Cause with you and Ash luck it inevitable, Daisy tells him, and Gary groans. Sis, stop worrying so much. Besides, Ichigo's here, Gary told her. Don't worry, Daisy. I'll keep them out of trouble, and Gary's is a smart kid. He can take care of himself, Ichigo ensures her. Daisy pouts and turns to Gary. If you say so, but be careful, okay? Gary nods, okay sis, and Daisy satisfied at his answer, and Professor Oak chuckles from the back. Then suddenly a person came besides Ichigo and says something to the video frame, particularly at Daisy. Oh, how is it my lucky day to find someone as beautiful as you? Ichigo and Gary jaws drop at the person's behavior. He continue, even if we can only see each other through this screen, I can feel you near me. The person put his face closer and closer to the screen, and Daisy's eyes widen a bit by the unknown person's strange declaration. I woo ack. Before he could finish, he got hit on the stomach and fell down on the ground. Hey, that's my sister you're talking to, you pervert. Gary yells at the person who seems to be a bit younger than Ichigo. Professor Oak saw the whole thing and starts laughing, and Ichigo just look at what just happened before he turns back to the screen and say, okay bye, we'll be going now. Daisy just nods, and Gary, be safe, okay? And she turns it off. Sometimes she worries too much, Gary sighs at what she say. But that's what elder sibling are for. We worried, Ichigo smirks at the boy while rubbing his head. Gary just nods. Yeah. Being an older sibling is kind of hard, the person that had appeared and created chaos says to them while getting up. His appearance is that of a tan skin color, brown spiky hair, and seemed to be shorter than Ichigo, but his most distinct feature is his permanent close eyes. The two turns to him, Ichigo with a curious look and Gary with a piss-off look. Yeah, how would you know? Gary shouts at him, still angry for trying to hit on his sister. Gary, stop it. But anyway, who are you? Ichigo asks him. The person blinks his already closed eyes. Oh, sorry about that, I can't help myself when there is a beautiful woman in sight. Anyway, my name is Brock, and the older brother to 7 kids. He apologized while introducing himself. Gary calms down a bit, but still alert about the guy, and Ichigo then say, it's okay and I feel you. It's not easy being an older sibling to multiple kids. Brock chuckles, and Ichigo introduce himself and Gary too, but with less enthusiasm. Ash and Leaf too came back with Charmeleon and Teddiursa, who is sitting on his head. They too greets Brock and warms up to him quickly at his friendly attitude. The two kids then turn to see Gary with an annoyed look. What's got you all riled up? Leaf asks him, but Gary just turns his head. Ichigo and Brock just chuckle nervously. Brock looks at Charmeleon curious at its strange color and flames before he turns to Ichigo. You have a very special Pokemon. I can see that it's well taken of and looks strong too. Chair, Charmeleon cried proudly from his compliment. Ichigo patted Charmeleon. Yeah, he is, and I'm proud of him too. Charmeleon blush at their compliments and ash leaf garb on his claws and hugs it and grins at him. Gary too smile at Charmeleon. How about I take you guys on a tour around the city and show you around as an apology for how I had acted, Brock suggested. Ash and Leaf got excited, but Gary just stares daggers at him saying I'm watching you. That would be great. It could really helps us, Ichigo say, and stands up and Brock grabs the older and taller boy's hands and shook. Then they walk outside the Pokemoncenter. Pewter City's museum the night before our heroes reach Pewter City. The Museum of Pewter City is one of the most well-known museums within the Kanto region with its finds and its items gather from many places even outside the region. It also goes by the name of Pewter Museum of Science. Archaeologists of the region brought their fine discoveries into the museum for all to see. Though the museum usually main attractions are fossils of ancient Pokemons, there are some items which aren't fossils, and those very items might attract the wrong people. Inside the museum there are 3 night guards during the night on different locations inside the museum, and now 2 of them were walking around having a conversation to pass the time. Huh, Carl, what is this thing? Did it came when I was on break? One of the 2 asked the other one while pointing at a old-looking scroll with weird red symbols around it, and it is put inside a glass dome also put out for display. No, John, it just arrived today while you were dozing off, don't you remember? The other one say to him, and the person just scratch his cheek feeling embarrassed. Haha, sorry, I forgot. The 2 continue while walking past the art exhibits. On top of the museum, a small figure with half of his face cover can be seen walking towards the glass windows on the upper ground of the building. The person expressions seem uninterested after looking at the low security of the museum. The figure now put his glover on the glass moving and slowly cuts the glass with small blade coming out of the glove and made it big enough for a normal person to enter. Slowly descending inside the building with a rope attaches to her waist connected to a portable device on the top of the building. The person slowly jumps down and lands on the floor with grace as the person seemed to have quite the reflex. Then scanning around the inside for anyone before getting up and looking around the place searching for something, then finding something on the wall, a description of the layers of floors in the museum with their exhibition's details. Looking at the list, the person sees the place where her main objective is 2nd floor. Now knowing where to go, the person walks towards the stair with silence before quickly hiding behind a fossil exhibition as 2 guards walk. Do you think we really need extra help, even if they are from that city? And the 2 continue on their way, quickly and silently going towards the stairs, trying to avoid being noticed by the cameras all over the place. It took a while to get to his destination with all the obstacles, as patience is the key here. Finally reaching the place where the person main objective is. The person sees the item which is to be retrieved is this. It, the person thought. The person paused, feeling something strange before pulling out something, and then putting on red glasses which seem to scan the items surrounding and detecting something which make the person say something in a somewhat bored tone. They are, prepare. Then pulling something out again, and this time a spray can of some sort, and then spraying it all around the place, PSSSSSSSSS. After a while some red lights began appearing around the item. The person quickly jumps and dives through the red lines without touching any one of them and finally reaching it. The person opens the glass dome and carefully take out the item, now known to be an old-looking scroll with red markings like symbol, but hey, you over there, put down the art exhibit. A night guard had spotted the person with his night torch pointed at the person who is now slowly putting the scroll inside a bag, not bothered by the night guard's words. What are you doing? I said put it down. The night guard warned the person, but it didn't make any difference, and getting agitated the guard slowly reached for his pokeball. If that's how you want it. Seeing what the guard is doing, the person quickly jumps over the red lines of light and flips behind the guard, and before the night guard could say anything, wah-ak, he fell into unconsciousness as the person chopped his neck hard. moving the unconsciousness night guard on a corner so no one would suspect anything for a while. The person moved, trying to escape the place with the bag holding the item in hand. Reaching the top floor after avoid being noticed, the person was about to head back up using the same rope until all the lights inside the room turns on with someone coming inside. A thief? Grandfather was right after all. A boy looking to be in his mid-teen came inside with red scarlet hair and a black cape. The person turns to the boy, showing a bit of identity. A kid and a girl, no less? The red scarlet hair boy got surprised at this. How is a kid like that able to sneak in and fool the guards and stole something, he thought. That doesn't matter now. You, hand over the historical item now. The red hair pointed his finger at the girl, who just tilted a head. Sorry, that is not possible, the person say in a bored tone under the cover of her mouth. The boy quickly and calmly says, now Dragonair. Then from under the carpet, the person is standing. A Pokemon-like serpentine body with blue color scales quickly came out and wrapped itself around the girl tightly. This surprised the person at being restrained. Now, you're under arrest, the red hair boy say while slowly walking towards her, now standing right in front of her. The boy look at her on the eyes and finds no trace of fear. Brave, aren't you? But he didn't finish as the girl's gloves blows out yellow smoke from the tiny holes on the fingertip of the glove. The red hair boy quickly covers his mouth with his cape and jump back. Smoke? No, this is... Ugh, I can't move. The boy tried to move but felt his body numb. Turning to the assailant and his Pokemon, who is also seemed to be affected by the smoke. What is this? He growls at her. It's something. You don't need to know, Tilda. The girl say, not being affected at all, with half her face covered with a mask. Two of the remaining night guards came in, but were also affected by the smoke and fell down paralyzed. The girl turns to the scarlet hair boy. Bye, Tilda. She tilts her head and waves her hand while being pulled up by the rope and then escape, which anger the boy. Damn it, he shouted, which the girl already outside heard it and giggles. Tilda, haha, Tilda. Then she pulls out a device and a hologram of a man with red hair appears. What is your status? The girl, now revealed to be the same girl Ichigo had helped inside the ship, say, mission complete. Leader Maxie. Tilda. Courtney say in a tone almost sound happy. Excellent. Return to base and we'll begin the next course of action, the person now named Maxie said before turning it off. Courtney then looks at a worn-out used bandage on her hand. Orange. Before the 11-year-old girl smirks, having an idea pop inside her head after a feeling came into her, something she haven't exactly know, but at the same time know it. And the night drifts away with the police coming around the museum and Officer Jenny questioning the night guards and the red hair boy calling his grandfather about the situation. Present time, Pallet Town. Inside the Ketchum house, we find three people having tea and just relaxing with day going on as usual. Professor, do you think they'll be okay? It's just that Ash is still young, and I'm getting worried that there will be a repeat of last time, Delia sighs worriedly. Delia, you shouldn't worry, Ichigo is with them. Don't you trust him? Professor Oak asks while sipping tea. I'm also worried about my brother, Mrs. Delia, but knowing that Ichigo is with them, I know they'll be okay, Daisy too says to her. Delia looks at the two and look out at the window. I do trust him, but Ash tends to get in trouble more than he can handle. The two Oaks nods and agree, especially with Gary and Leaf. They all think the same line. This is Jessica reporting from Pewter City, where a robbery had occurred last night. The three then turns to the TV. Pewter City. Delia turns to the two. Professor, we should warn the kids quickly. She then turns into a worried mother. Delia, again, calm down. We just spoke to them an hour ago, and they seem to be fine. Professor Oak then turns back to the television. The police have no leads on the thief who had struck last night, but one of the help the museum received from the Blackthorn City's dragon family is here, who had somehow engaged the thief last night. The screen then turns to the same red scarlet boy, and the screen zoom into him. Young man, what can you tell us about the situation that happened last night? The reporter moves her mic close to him, waiting for an answer. The boy turns to the screen. I can't say much, but I can tell you that the one who robbed one of the museum items last night was skill and train. But what's most surprise is the thief was a kid. Then the red hair boy moves away with his cape flowing back. The reporter, satisfied with his answer, turns back to the screen. That concludes it. The museum guards and the police won't have much rest on this case. She continues on, and the Professor Oak and the other two keep watching it with growing fear inside their heart for their young children, which are now in that very same city where a robbery had occurred. Pewter City. We find our heroes walking around the city with a new person they had met, Brock, who is showing them around the place with Ash and Leaf asking him many questions about the city, and Gary glaring him from behind the back with Ichigo and Charmeleon walking beside him. Brock then continues showing the three around, even introducing them to his family after they went there, where his mother, who is pregnant, and 7 other kids who also welcome them and keep poking at Charmeleon, finding it curious. Ichigo turns to Brock. Brock, do you know the gym leader here? Brock paused for a bit before look down. Yeah, he's my dad, Brock says in a strained tone. Then could you tell me where he is? He's got a package we need to retrieve for someone. But Brock just look at his brothers and sister, and the eldest among them, Forest, as they were playing with Ash and Leaf with a sad look. Dad's has gone out repeatedly trying to be a stronger trainer and hasn't come home much. I understand, Ichigo say, and Ash quickly appear in front of the two, Brock, surprising the two, and turns to him. Ash, what is it? Brock asks. Could you show us around the gym? Ash asks with sparkle in his eyes. Sorry, Ash boo, Ichigo try to say, but Brock answers the boy. Of course I can. We'll head there, okay? Ash jumps around excitedly. Are you sure? Ichigo turns to him. The younger boy just nods, and Ash jumps with Charmeleon and Brock's other siblings. Just look at the excited boy, and Gary just rubs his head at Ash's forwardness. Later, they arrive in front of the gym, and the place shows that it is a rock-type gym. Ash looks excited. Finally, he is able to see the insides of a gym was like, and from behind Brock just laughs at the boy's behavior. Sorry, Ash likes anything that is Pokemon battle related. Brock shook his head. It's alright, my brothers are just the same. Then Ash, with the help of Brock's younger sibling Forest, opens the door to the gym and quickly runs in with Forest. Leaf, who is holding onto Charmeleon Claw, look at Ash behavior. That's Ash for you, right Gary? But there was no response. Gary? Gary? Leaf turns around and didn't see Gary. He was here a minute ago. Ichigo then turns her head towards the gym, and Leaf sees that Gary is too, looking around the gym with Ash. Hehe, guess Gary do sometimes act like Ash, Leaf says to herself. And with Ash, Gary and Forest, while the younger boy show the two around, they turns to something on the corner of the gym. What is that, Forest? Gary points at it. Ichigo and the others came in and find the three just standing and staring at something. What are you three looking at? Ichigo asks the three, and Ash and Gary turns to him and points at the corner of the place. They all look at it, and they move closer and closer to it. Gary and Ash then slowly poke it with a stick, and it move. It move, Ash and Gary say at the same time. They all back up one step. Okay, I have never seen it before, Brock say, a bit creep out by it. The thing they were looking at is being covered by some cloth. Leaf is grabbing onto Ichigo's shirt, a bit scared, and Charmeleon looks ready, about to blast it with his flames. Then the thing growl or make some weird noise, oogudge. And it stands up, and the cloth that was covering it slowly falls down. They got ready for whatever it is. Goo guys, get ready, Brock says, and it then turns around to them, and it turns out to be an ordinary man looking very similar to Brock and Forest, but with a beard. Dad, Forest says quietly. Dad, Brock shouted at the man, who just scratches his head. On the entrance to the city, we find a very familiar girl with purple lilac hair is walking and look around the place with a blank face, not really interested with anything, trying to find something before she head back. Dad, she heard the loud shout, and she blinks a bit before walking to the sound, trying to ease her boredom. Back inside the gym, Brock is standing looking quiet, angry, with his little brother behind him, and in front of him his father Flint, who is on the ground kneeling down. What do you have to say for yourself? Brock looks at his father with a stern look. Okay, I can explain why I was sleeping inside the gym. Flint tried to defend himself comically with his hands. On the side, Ichigo and the others look at the family. Ichigo, is that the guy we're supposed to see? Gary asks, not too sure how to say about the strange family. I guess, if his name is Flint. Ichigo scratches cheeks. So he's the gym leader here, and Brock's dad. Ash mumbles, trying to think of something before he got an idea. Leaf just look relief that it wasn't anything scary. The four look back at the family now. Brock yelling at his father for being an irresponsible father and some other things. Then did you become a great trainer like you said before you left home? Brock asks his father. Flint just slumped down Nuo. And another series of yelling occurs. After a while, the family seems to resolve their problem with Brock saying, "Okay, Dad, I'll forgive you this time, but you'll have to come home and not leave us again and also take responsibility. We all miss you." Flint looked up to his sons. I promise, I'll be a better father." Now trying to hold back tears, Flint starts to cry and Brock with his little brother join their father and cry, "Stop that. You're gonna make me cry too." Ichigo, Gary and Leaf saw the family drama and just sweat drop. They were happy that they got their problem solved, but seeing their crying faces just wasn't right. Guess there are different kinds of family. Ichigo chuckles weirdly. Haha, yeah, you're right. Leaf agrees with him. They're the weirdest bunch, right Ash? Gary says, but no response, only whimpering sounds. Ash? Huh? Gary and the others turns to see Ash crying with snots falling from his nose, crying for the family. This is so sniff sniff I'm so happy for them. Gary and Leaf just groaned at their friend's behavior. Ichigo just pulls the boy close to him and sighs, just let it out, while he pats the boy's back. After the family stops their crying and Flint getting up from the ground, Ash suddenly appears. Ash, Brock and Forest look at the boy suddenly appearing. But Ash was looking right at Flint with an intense stare. Ichigo and the other two saw Ash standing beside Brock and his family with confusing. He was here crying a minute ago, Gary says deadpanned. Well, that's Ash. He's a ball of energy, Ichigo describing his brother while looking at him. Leaf giggles and agree. Charmeleon and Teddiursa just look at their trainers and turn back to the family. Can I help you, young man? Flint asks at the boy who is giving him an intense look. Are you the gym leader here? Ash says, not even blinking. Yes, I am, and before he could finish, my brother challenged you to a battle, Ash shouts, and all the people inside the gym except Flint jaws drop. Flint just raises a brow with his declaration. Gary and Leaf quickly grab Ash and drags him and turns to Flint. Sorry sir, he's just sometimes say things that aren't true, Leaf says nervously to Brock father. Don't listen to him, he's a very disturbed little boy, Gary says nervously. The two then drag him and begin scolding him. Ash, you idiot, Leaf say with her hands on her hips. I know you were dumb, but this is too much, Gary too say to him. On the other side of the field, I know that I only met the three for a day, but I can see that there are a bunch of fun people. Brock smirk with Forest. The two brothers see their father Flint walk closer to Ichigo and Ash. Ash, that wasn't right, telling a lie. Ichigo kneel down beside him. Ash just twiddle his finger on the ground with a pout. I just want to see a real live battle between a trainer and a gym leader. Gary and Leaf sighs. You will, but not today. Brock and his family have problem of their own. I don't think it's a good time. Ichigo rubs the boy's head. Ash just nod. If you say so. I won't mind, Flint says from behind them, and look at Ash and Ichigo. They all turn around and see the man, which got Ash really excited. Are you sure? Ichigo asks him. Don't sweat it, young man. It has been a long time since I have a challenger. But I'm not even registered. Flint just slap Ichigo on the back, making him fall down. Don't worry about the small stuff and just battle. Flint laughs and Ash jumps. Yeah. Leaf and Gary blinks at Flint. Besides, I only have one Pokemon, Ichigo tells him. Flint then rubs his chin. Then we'll have a single match. Ichigo just give the gym leader a dull look. Did he just made a rule of his own? Brock and Forest two moves close to them. Yeah, Ichigo. How about it? Brock pulls up the older boy. I guess. Ichigo then look at his partner Charmeleon, who put his claws on his chest. Char. Well, if you're in, then let's do it. Pewter Gym's battlefield. The two then stands on opposite side of the battlefield and Ash and the others on the sideline. Forest, how about you be the referee? Brock tells his little brother. Really? Forest says excitedly to his brother. Brock smile at his brother and Forest quickly run to the middle side of the battle. Ready your Pokemon. Flint then smirks and throw out a Pokeball, and from it came out a Pokemon like snake, but this one resembles a giant chain of large gray boulders and smaller towards the tail. Groa. And it looked at Ichigo, who didn't flinch even with its enormous figure. Onyx, are you ready? And the Pokemon growl again responding. Ash and Leaf look at the huge Pokemon in awe. Wow, that's a huge Pokemon. Gary then quickly pull out Ichigo's pokedex from his bag and scans the Pokemon. Onyx, the rock snake Pokemon. When it travels underground, it causes rumbling and tremors. It eats huge boulders as its diet. Ash gulp and shakes a bit. It eats boulders? You scared, Ash? Gary teased him, which Ash retorts back fast. Ha, no way, and they begin to argue. Leaf turns to Ichigo and Charmeleon worriedly. Ichigo, she then felt a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry, Dad won't go overboard. Besides, don't you believe in your friend? Brock asks the girl. Leaf just stare back and Ichigo and remember all his battles, and with a new resolve she shouts, You can do it, Ichigo! Leaf shouts and the boys join her. Ichigo hears their support and look at his Pokemon. You ready, Charmeleon? Char, breathing out black flames of his and ready himself. From the upper side of the building, Courtney is watching them, particularly at Ichigo. Orange. Show me Tilda. A small grin slowly forms on her lips under her hood. And Forrest look at the two and shouts, Begin. Taking the first move, Ichigo quickly order, Show them the results of our training. Charmeleon quickly runs towards the large Pokemon with his claws generating Metal Claw. Flint got surprised at the Pokemon's speed. Charmeleon then jumps high and slams Metal Claw on Onyx's head. Forehead. Seachar. Onyx's head got pushed down on the ground. Grua. Onyx grunts. Charmeleon retreats back for further commands from Ichigo. Ichigo just stare at the smoke of dust hiding the down Pokemon. Awesome, Ash shouts. Steel-type moves are effective against Rock-type. That must have done a lot of damage, Gary inquire while looking at the battlefield intensely. Leaf just nods her head happily with Teddiursa beside her. Does that mean Ichigo will win? She asks Gary, but Brock answers her, I won't be too sure about that. The kids turn to him. Yes, Metal Claw may have done some damage, but that won't be enough to beat my dad, and with Charmeleon being a fire type and Onyx being a rock type, Ichigo's gonna have a hard time. This put the three kids in alert before they look back at the battle. That was a good move, young man, but it won't be enough. Onyx quickly move in and use Slam. Now it was Ichigo turns to be surprised at the opponent's speed. Charmeleon quickly move out of the way. Onyx moves fast for its size and pull its tail up and slam it down at Charmeleon, but the fire type quickly roll out of the way just as Onyx's tail made a crack on the battleground. Crack! Ichigo look at the Onyx and then at Flint, who smirk. Charmeleon us. Onyx quickly wrap it up. Flint quickly commands and Onyx quickly warps the fire type and began to strangle it in a very tight grip. Charmeleon grunts in pain from the tight grip. Ichigo grits his teeth, frustrated at Charmeleon's situation. Oh no, Leaf hands flew on her mouth. Charmeleon used Dragon Breath on Onyx's head. Ichigo shout. Charmeleon, even with the pain, open his mouth and fires Draconic Energy at the rock Pokemon. The move hits and Onyx grunts in pain from the hit, but didn't let up and tighten his grip on Charmeleon. Flint knows the move and its effect and quickly orders, Onyx slam it on the ground. Onyx pull up the trap Pokemon and quickly slams it hard on the ground. Charmeleon grunts as the pain was unbearable and stops his attack. Charmeleon, don't stop, keep firing it. Charmeleon heard Ichigo's voice before he quickly again fired Dragon Breath at the rock Pokemon, who seems to be getting affected by the move. I don't understand, why would he keep doing that? It didn't work the first time, Brock thought, not really getting Ichigo's strategy. Onyx, do it again. Flint shouted, already having an idea of what Ichigo is trying to do, and Onyx began to raise the fire-type Pokemon again and try to slam it, but suddenly stops before it could hit the ground. It worked, Ichigo thought, and an annoyed frown formed on Flint's face. Damn it. What happened? Ash says, also worried for Charmeleon. Onyx got paralyzed. You idiot, Gary answers him. But how? Leaf asks, not really understanding. It's simple. What move did Charmeleon use? Brock turns to her. I think it was Dragon Breath. Why? You're correct. Dragon Breath is a dragon move, but with a very peculiar after effect. It can paralyze anyone it hits. The chance isn't that high, but nonetheless effective in fighting against a stronger opponent. Ichigo must have noticed that, and so he decided to use it, Brock tells the three before looking back at the battlefield. The three kids understand him and turn their attention back to the battle. Now, with Onyx paralyzed, Charmeleon squirms out of its hold and began running up on the snake rock's body towards its head. Charmeleon charge up a metal claw and hit it with everything you got, Ichigo shouts, not ready to give up even with a type disadvantage. Charmeleon drops both his arms, charging up metal claws, and it seemed to grow larger as the energy around it condensed while running up towards the head of Onyx. Onyx saw the incoming attack and tried to retaliate, but couldn't as the paralyze is still in effect. Onyx, try to shake it off, Flint shouts at his Pokemon. Onyx somehow wiggle a bit, but that didn't stop Charmeleon as he quick up his pace and raise his two large metal claws and slashes on the face of Onyx. Char. The force from the hit and pain cause Onyx to fall down and Charmeleon to fall down from Onyx's head, exhausted from the pain he received from Onyx. Charmeleon, Ichigo yells. Onyx, Flint's 2 yells. The two Pokemon hits the ground, bam, smokes cover the whole place. Ash and the others cover their eyes from the huge dust. The dust slowly fade away and they can see Onyx and Charmeleon still standing, both exhausted, but still able to continue. Ash, Gary and Leaf breath out relief that Charmeleon still standing. Phew, that was close, the three say together at the same time. Ichigo and Flint look at each other with a grin. You're very strong, young man, but this ends here. Ichigo, just look at Charmeleon. Ha, we're just getting started. Flint now felt the excitement of battling, which he hasn't felt in years. Then show me what you got. Onyx, use head smash. The huge Pokemon began charging at Charmeleon with energy forming on its head. Ash and the others saw the powerful move closing in on Charmeleon, and they were feeling nervous, frustrated, and worried for it. Just before Onyx hits the fire type, Charmeleon, quick attack, Ichigo order. Charmeleon quickly used quick attack to dodge Onyx by quickly running around the huge Pokemon on its side, and Onyx stop its attack, blinking and confused at not hitting its target. Onyx, behind you. Use smokescreen, Ichigo shouts, and hope that this will work. Charmeleon understand what Ichigo was thinking and quickly use smokescreen and covers Onyx's whole body. Flint raised a brow at this. What is that boy thinking, he thought, and then orders, Onyx use head smash again. But Onyx couldn't move as paralyze is still in effect. Flint clicks his mouth, not now. Charmeleon now lighted up. Ichigo orders Charmeleon, who pull back his head and slowly opens his mouth before he fires out a huge stream of black flames at the smokescreen cover. Onyx, black, was the only thing that went through Flint's mind before the black flames hits the smokescreen cover Onyx and explodes with a huge bang, boom. From the upper part of the building, Courtney too cover herself with her hands from the shockwave of the explosion before she then look again at Ichigo with an intense gaze. You seem to make me more and more excited. Orange tilde tilde. She giggles to herself under hood as her emotions begins to surface again. Back on the battlefield, Charmeleon is still standing, but now kneeling down and breathing hard with the smokes slowly fading. Ichigo didn't say anything and stay silent, ready for anything to face again the durable Onyx. Flint too didn't drop his gaze, and Ash with the others too waits for the smoke to clear out. After the smokes finally clear out, I guess this is my loss, Flint says with a smile and put his hand on his head when he sees Onyx is lying on the ground with swirls on his eyes. Forrest sees the results of the battle and shouts, Onyx is unable to battle, and the winner goes to Charmeleon and Ichigo. He raises his hands at Ichigo's side. Ichigo slumps down on the ground with Charmeleon moving beside him. We won, he say tiredly with Charmeleon puffing out smoke from his nostrils in response. Yay! The three kids jumps and then ran over to Ichigo and Charmeleon congratulating them. Brock just smiles at Ichigo and he walks to his father, and Forrest too came. Dad, that was a great battle. Flint's look at his eldest in surprise. You two are not disappointed. Brock and Forrest shook their heads. No, Dad, we know that you're strong, but no one can always win a battle every time, Brock says to his father and turns to Ash and the others. Besides, Ichigo is a strong trainer, wasn't he? His father understands what he is saying and thought even with a type disadvantage Ichigo was able to claim victory. He is, and then he walks towards Ichigo. Ichigo, who is now smiling with all the compliments and how happy Ash and the other two were giving him, turns to see Flint standing behind him. Ichigo, for beating me and giving me an excited and solid rock-hard battle, I present you the Boulder Badge. Flint then handed him a small badge. Ash and Gary eyes widen at seeing the badge. Ichigo blinks and turns to him in confusion. But I told you before, I'm not registered in the Pokemon League this year. Ha ha ha, don't worry, even if you don't compete this year, you can still use the badge on another year. So just accept it, Flint tells him with a smirk, and Brock with his little brother too told him the same thing. Thanks. Ichigo smile with Charmeleon breathing out flames indicating that it is happy. Awesome. Brother, can I hold it, please? Ash got down on his knees and begs. Ichigo just chuckle and throw it to him. Ash catch the badge and then jumps high with Leaf and Teddiursa. We got a boulder badge, he declares and smile before the three kids began fighting over who gets to hold it. Hey, stop pulling, he threw it to me. You'll just lost it, Ash boy. You two are such boys, so it'll be better for me to hold on to it. Ichigo just scratch his head at the three kids. Being an older brother to multiple kids isn't easy, isn't it? Brock pulls up the other boy. Ichigo sighs and chuckles. Yeah, but somehow, it's worth it. The brown hair boy nods in response, understanding that even if they have fights, disagreement on things, but the moments and the laughter they shared was worth it. Brock then turns to Ichigo. Ichigo. The orange hair boy turns to him. What is it? The last move you use was flamethrower, right? Ichigo nods in confirmation. Then how did it exploded so big? I know the move is strong, but I never knew it could be that powerful, Brock asks him, hoping he will subside his confusion. Well, think back. I used Charmeleon's smokescreen to add more fuse to his flamethrower. Brock then quickly says, What? That is impossible. It's only smoke. How can it be the reason? I can't really explain, but I can say that Charmeleon is really special, and also his moves also seem to be different than others, and what I did back there was something we discovered during our training. Strange, but nonetheless useful to catch others off guard. Brock nodded at his explanation. Then from the door to the battlefield. Hello? Flint and the two boys turn around to see someone in red or scarlet hair entering the battlefield. Yes, Flint says the boy. Is the gym leader here present? The boy asks, who seem to be older than Ichigo, but they seem to be in the same height. That would be me. How may I help you? Flint asks the boy. I want to ask you something, and it concerns about the incident last night. Flint and Brock got surprised at this. Can we talk in private? It's important, the red hair boy suggested, and Flint nod and turn to Brock and Ichigo. This won't take long. So wait here, Brock and Ichigo. I know why you came here. Professor Oak told me, which Ichigo understands, and just walk towards Ash and the others. Follow me, the gym leader say to the scarlet hair boy. The boy took a quick glance to Charmeleon and Ichigo before he then follows him out. That Pokemon. And that trainer, the boy thought while following Flint. Ichigo then turns to Brock. Brock, what kind of incident happened last night? Brock got surprised at his answer. What? You don't know? It's all over the news. Ichigo just shrugs it off. I don't watch the TV that much, even the news. So could you tell me what happened? Well, last night there was a robbery in the museum here in the city, Brock tells him. Ichigo interest peak at what he said. Haven't they catch the one who did it? Brock shook his head in negative. No, they say that the person is still loose in the city, and also the strange thing is that the thief was a child. Ichigo just stay silent, not knowing what to say. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 7. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Strange and Kind 634 of them on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.